Very good afternoon to everyone. I hope I'm audible. Thank you all for joining us. We will actually be starting off shortly, just waiting for a few more of the audience to join us so that we can go forward. I hope I'm audible. Mr. Komal, we are yet to start, hence no audio. We are yet to start. Hope I'm audible now. All right. Thank you all for your patience. Very good afternoon to one of our present here. First of all, I would like to thank everyone again for joining us for yet another webinar organized by Web. I'd also like to thank our chief speaker, Mr. Ramakrishna, for joining us on yet another webinar. I look forward to a wonderful session with all of you. I am Siddharth and I handle product marketing at Web Solutions. I will also be your moderator for the day. Dear all, once again, I hope I'm audible. Just wanted to mention that we hadn't started all this while, which is why you're not able to hear us. Mr. Suresh, I hope I'm audible now. All right, so we will get going. So we can move to the next slide, where I will actually be talking a little bit about the company that I represent, followed by which we will get into the introduction of our chief speaker and his topic. So Web is a 20-year-old company as of today. Web was initially known as Wipro ePeripherals, which was part of Wipro itself. And in 2000, we became an independent entity. We were in fact the peripherals division of Wipro. So from there on, we have actually evolved, and today we have multiple solution offerings on offer, which I will show you in the next few slides. Moving on to the next slide. So as you can see, we have mainly three solutions on offer. These are our signature solutions: managed print services. We also have digital transformation solutions. And thirdly, we have intelligent office automation solutions. Aside this, we also deal with retail billing solutions for Kirana stores and departmental stores. Let's move to the next slide, where you will be able to see a little more in depth about what these solutions actually are. So I will take about a quick 5 minutes on this. So serial number one, that is managed print services. We are in fact known as India's #1 MPS company. The business here is such that we actually deal with printing hardware based on customer requirement, and they would be charged on a per print basis. We also handle asset management, wherein the customer will not have to worry about any hardware requirements. We will actually completely tend to their needs, and including the service and collaterals will be handled. We also undertake full service and support throughout the country. So this is what we do with Web managed print services. Moving on to serial number two, that is intelligent office automation solutions. We offer the latest range of best-selling MFPs on offer, that is multifunction printers. I'd also like to mention that we are the authorized distributor alongside Ricoh Japan to sell Ricoh products in India. We undertake full-fledged delivery and service and support throughout the country as well. Serial number 3 and 4 cover the digital transformation solutions side of our solution. First off, we have GST. I'm sure all of you are aware of what GST is. So we have an all-in-one solution for your GST requirements. We in fact hold a license called GSP, that is GST Suvidha Provider. We are appointed by the GSTN itself. Our solution actually handles end-to-end filing reconciliation requirements, aside data preparation and validation built into the solution. We also have modules built in for e-waybill automation, e-invoicing. We undertake most ERP integrations right from SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, and so on. And we have a standalone solution called Managed Print Services. Moving on to serial number 4, that is document management solutions. Here we offer tailored custom solutions for enterprises with the help of two foundations, mainly low-code development platform and workflow automation. With this, we are actually able to build various solutions on offer, be it custom or something that is already in your company. Moving on to the next slide, you will be able to see a little more on what we have on offer under DMS. As you can see, we have ready-made solutions for employee records management for the HR. We have a procure-to-pay process that is already built into our solution. Please note that we also will be able to customize based on an organizational requirement. Of course, each company will have different levels of hierarchy. They might have different steps within the process itself. All of this can be customized. We have a solution for management of change, tending to manufacturing and chemical pharma industries. We also have a built-in document repository on the cloud hosted on Azure. So this is what we do with the solutions aspect. We will move on to the next slide. Once again, thank you all for joining. I hope my voice is audible. All right, moving on to the next slide. So as I mentioned, our solution, that is the DMS solution, I would like to see if there are any of our audience who are actually looking at a solution who would be interested in a free demo of our solution. I would like to launch a poll for all of them present here. Hope all of you are seeing this on your screen. So let me leave this on for the next 1 minute. I just want to know if anyone's exploring solutions or if there's an actual requirement of a procurement solution from your end. We would be happy to reach out to you and give you a complete free demo, a one-to-one demo of our solution based on your convenience. So let me leave this on for the next 1 minute. After this, we will be getting into the introduction of our chief speaker, Mr. Ramakrishnan. Please note that in this demo, we will actually be able to cater to all your queries. If there's anything specific related to your organizational requirements, we will be able to deal with that. All right, wonderful. Thank you all. I will end the poll right now. Moving on to the next slide, where we introduce our speaker. Welcoming our speaker, Mr. Ramakrishnan Sudarshanam, top leadership, business IT strategist, a technology thought leader, and a globally recognized CIO with a distinguished track record of providing leadership in CIO roles for over 18 years that include the implementation and execution of various large-scale projects in cutting-edge and emerging technologies such as cloud, IoT, RPA, mobility, and rapid application development platforms. Mr. Ramakrishnan brings on board close to 37 years of technology experience, people leadership, invaluable business insights, and wisdom in various business critical roles in large enterprises such as United Breweries Limited, McDowell and Co., that have resulted in people, process, and operational efficiencies and business transformation overall. He is also a recipient of several national and international awards, industry recognitions for leadership and innovation. To name a few, International Industry Awards, Premier 100 Technology Leader, Enterprise Innovation, Digital Edge 25. National Industry Awards include CIO 100, Digital Leader, Innovative CIO, IDC Insights Awards, Sea Change, Intelligent Enterprise, CIO Power List, Digital Icon. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here with us today, sir. I'm sure the audience is looking forward to directly hearing from you. Dear audience, in fact, I'd like to mention that this is our third consecutive webinar with Mr. Ramakrishnan. I will definitely hand it over to him from here on. Looking forward to this session, sir. Over to you. Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Ramki, you're on mute.
Yeah, thanks, Siddharth, for that lovely introduction. And I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, loud and clear. Dear audience, it'll be nice if you can give us a quick yes so that we can proceed. All right. Yeah, you're good to go, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks, Siddharth, for giving me this opportunity, and thanks for all the audience to join in. And I hope the time that you spend now would be fruitful, and I would be more than happy to uh, answer any queries that you may have at the end of the presentation. You may post your query either in the Q&A section or on chat, and Siddharth would probably, take it up, and then we can go one by one.
Yes, absolutely. So to add on to that, I would also like to mention that those of you who would like to directly interact with Mr. Ramki towards the end of the session, I will be able to do that as well. So please use the Q&A tab or the chat tab based on how the topic goes about. You can ask your queries. We'll keep a track of that.
Thanks, Siddharth. Yeah. So the topic for today is digitizing supply chain issue management. Now, before I get into the topic, I would like to take a small poll here to understand how important do you think is digitizing this supply chain issue management? Can you put on the poll, please?
Yeah, absolutely, sir. So I will launch it right now. Hope all of you are seeing this on your screen. We'd like to understand from your point whether supply chain issue management actually requires digital. Let me leave this on for the next 1 minute. This would actually help Mr. Ramki to proceed with his presentation as well. All right, that is a straight 10 on 10, just like that. All of them think that it requires digitization. Interesting. I was actually hoping to see someone will say no or not sure at this moment.
Yeah.
Not a single person. So I will leave this on for another 10 seconds. Let's see if we have differing inputs. All right, so let me end the poll. Mr. Ramki, you can proceed.
Want to share the results or okay?
Yeah, I'll just share it. I mean, either way, it is one answer.
Okay, fine. So that is great. I think almost, most of the audience who have responded to the query have said that it needs digitization. That is very good to hear. So hopefully, you will be able to appreciate this presentation as to, why digitization is important and how do we go about digitizing it, and what are the framework and the tools that are available to take this digitization forward. So let me start. Yeah. So supply chain, as you know, it is a very complex network where there are so many stakeholders, present in a supply chain, right on the supply side as well as on the demand side. And inherently, supply chain always has some issue or the other. That's what, because we are talking about several enterprises working together to achieve a common goal. And there are issues like supply chain, some of the issues that I've mentioned here, like delayed shipment, wrong shipment, damaged product, and many others. Currently, the way it is handled, they're all still very manual. And you must have been noticed this, that most of the time, there'll be firefighting calls, people trying to reach each other, whole lot of barrage of mails going, escalations, and all these things happen. And then till the issue gets resolved, these frantic communication will exchange. And once the issue gets resolved, the whole thing will calm down and people will forget about what happened and they'll move on in life. Now, many times you are not able to even measure as to whether you have been able to address the supply chain issue in time and what was the impact of that in your overall performance of supply chain. And because of digitization, because of Industry 4.0, because of globalization, the supply chain network itself has become very complex. And today there are multiple players, more than what it was earlier. And then because of that, what happens is that you need to collaborate with all of them together to ensure that there is a seamless performance of supply chain. Now let us look at how a typical supply chain network will look like. This may not be a comprehensive list, but what I've tried to illustrate here is typically how a supply chain network will look. So you have got on the supply side, you have got your component suppliers, you have contract manufacturers, you may have co-packers, then you have an organization yourself for manufacturing and various other processes. Then you have a logistics provider. Then you have a distributor and wholesale network. Then you may also have retail network. You may have an e-commerce platform. And then finally, the goods pass through all these channels to reach the end customer. Now, this definitely is a complex network, because unless everything happens smoothly across, only then you will be able to fulfill and satisfy the customer. And today, with increased competition and customer experience being key, a lot of customers are expecting a very seamless performance, what is being committed. And even we are used to all this, right? Today, for example, during this pandemic, all of us are used to buying online. And when there is a delivery commitment of, let us say, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or next day, 2 hours, then we are very happy when it happens within that time. And if there is a delay, then obviously the experience is not good. So we ourselves are seeing this. Similarly, when it comes to business also, all these things have become very important, because at the end of the day, if there is a gap in the supply chain, finally, the end consumer will suffer in terms of delayed deliveries, damaged products, and all that. So let us look at some of the typical issues that normally you see. From a material component, there could be delays in supplies because of various reasons. A supplier may not be able to deliver. Contract manufacturing unit may be having some issues with working capital. Maybe he may not be able to upgrade his machine. There could be delays in his production or issues with forecast and all that. There could be contract issues as well. Maybe the contract is not renewed, or there are issues with rework or quality issues. There could be issues within the manufacturing organization itself, your own organization, in terms of breakdowns or challenges with forecast mismatch and things like that. And there are third-party logistics. There could be shipping delays, lack of vehicle availability, and other issues in terms of, like, for example, global supply chain. We had an issue last time when the Suez Canal issue happened. Similarly, now today with Ukraine, Russia, there are again issues coming up. Even within the country, there are bunds and transporters going on strike. Several other issues that come up in the scenario. Then you have got the distributors who are supposed to stock your products. They need to ensure that the products are stocked properly. And if it is product that requires temperature control, then they need to keep it in a proper fashion, make sure that the product doesn't get damaged. So sometimes you may have issue there. Then there could be issues with short supplies. Somebody has ordered for 10 and you deliver only 8. Then there could be delay in delivery because of issues of short supply availability, production problem, and things like that. So all these issues definitely affects the overall supply chain performance. So if you look at supply chain challenges the way today, because it is not digitized, most of the processes are manual. Now, as I explained earlier, saying that today, whenever there's a supply chain issue, a barrage of email exchanges take place. Then there are phone calls, video calls, people rushing to address the issue. Now, while this issue is being addressed, there is no clear visibility across all the people as to what kind of issues are there, what is the status, and when will it get resolved. And also, you don't have any visibility of whether such an issue happened in the past and what happened at that time. how was it resolved when it happened earlier. And because of all these things being done in a very unconventional and in a very decentralized fashion, what happens is there is no centralized repository of all these issues. And most of the time, supply chain managers spend time in meetings and calls trying to understand who is responsible for this problem, how it can be resolved. And the reliance is essentially on ad hoc reports, which are generated from all these calls and distributed through emails. And further on, because there is no record of all these issues maintained, you are not able to take advantage of the learnings from the past. Now, in the absence of learnings from the past, you are not able to do any root cause analysis, bring in improvements in procedures and processes, just to make sure that these kind of issues do not happen. And the scope for continuous improvement is something that you miss out. And also, since the issues are not visible across, many times you must have noticed a common thing is when somebody writes a mail, he marks all the people on that mail. And many times it is not very clear from the mail as to who is supposed to address that problem. Now, suppose if a person's name is there in the CC and not in the to, he will think that it is not addressed to him. These are typical issues that you normally notice when it comes to supply chain. And the total communication, the way it is managed, is unstructured, decentralized. And only the tools like phones and email and virtual meetings are being used, and there is no digitization whatsoever. Now, if you were to understand as to why these processes are not digitized, is because I think somehow this issue has not been in the limelight, despite all of us agreed, even you all agreed, saying that yes, this needs digitization. Now, many times people are not very sure that can this be digitized? Or if it can be digitized, are there any frameworks, tools, which we can use or leverage to digitize this? So what I'm going to talk to you about is something on that lines as to what are the frameworks available, how we can use it, and then what is the benefit that you will realize once you embrace and leverage such tools. So there is a concept of enterprise service management. In short, it's called ESM. So this has been in vogue for quite a number of years. And this actually evolved from IT service management, which probably was way back about 10, 12 years back when ITIL library was created, which came with a framework. At that time, this was essentially being used for managing IT service. Now, all of you who are using IT in your organization, you must have been familiar with the service desk, that your help desk that you may have. And whenever there is an issue, they will raise a ticket, and then somebody will work on the ticket, and then the issue will get resolved. And periodically, these IT departments will also showcase as to how the issues were handled, how many issues are open, all these kind of things. Now, ESM is nothing but an extension of that. Now, functions like HR has already started using this for some years now, because HR is also another function like IT, a service function which addresses all the employee needs. So ESM naturally got extended to yet another service department which deals with people, which is HR. But then this framework is something that can be used to address any issue management processes. Now, why it is important is because this offers actually a framework, and it supports automation. There is workflow in it. There is governance and control mechanism, and all these things are provided ultimately with the objective of improving customer experience and ensuring in this case that the supply chain performance is optimal. Now, this adopting this ESM process will help you to digitize this entire process of issue management with tool sets that will help you transform the overall supply chain performance. Let us now get into little detail as to what is the ESM framework all about. Now, ESM framework comprises of the following components. First and foremost, it's a centralized portal where you can record and manage everything. There is a component of called service request where any service that anybody requires within the supply chain that can be handled. Then there is a knowledge management wherein you can capture issues that have happened in the past and the resolution that has been done and capture and record it as a knowledge repository so that you can reuse them as and when needed. Then the core of the thing is, of course, incident issue management, which helps you to record all the issues that happen across the supply chain, and you can track its progress from raising the issue to its resolution. And an interesting component is there, which is called problem management. That is, when these issues happen, you have an opportunity to look at recurring issues which keep happening again and again. So what you can do is to take those issues and put it into what we call it as a problem management. So these issues, a few people can be assigned to work on that problem and come out with a solution to address that problem so that it doesn't recur going forward. Now, once you have come out with a change in either a process or a procedure in terms of what needs to be done to address this issue, you get into a situation, get into a stage where you want to implement that change. Now, the change management process helps you to govern this entire change. That means you can capture why the change is being done, what is it, how does it help, and whether the change what is the kind of impact the change will have. Has the change been discussed? Has it been tried out? Has anybody looked at, how deploying this will impact? And in case the change does not work, what is the rollback mechanism? How do we revert back to the old procedure? And all these things can be handled by a change management. And there is a release and deployment where you can say that, okay, now this change in this procedure or process, I'm going to implement from so-and-so date. And you also have something like a service level agreement management, wherein you can say that whenever an issue is registered, we can assign priority to those issues, whether it is priority 1 issue, priority 2 issue, depending upon what kind of impact that issue will create. And you can also set some timelines in terms of how fast that issue needs to be resolved. Probably an issue which is priority 1, which has a high level of impact, maybe you may want to address it within probably 2 hours, 3 hours, or whatever may be the time frame. And maybe an issue with low priority, like a P4, could be something which you can probably take maybe a day to resolve. So this way, once you assign a priority to an issue, and when the issue gets resolved, the system will keep track of whether it has met the agreed service level agreement. And this way, you will be able to improve the process going forward. Now, let us look at how we can implement this. What is the approach that we have to take? So first is to capture the supply chain issue management. To digitize this, you need to invest in a tool which supports this framework. So centralized multi-enterprise service management tool or software, which can bring all the people in the network to be part of the system. And every issue that happens, you record in the system to ensure that you don't miss out on any issue. And when you record the issue, you also assign priority. What is the impact of that issue? How is it going to impact? And what needs to be done on that issue? Then using workflow, you can also route this issue to people who need to address this issue. So that's where the automation come into play. You can automate it based on rules, saying that so and so issue comes, it has to be attached to so and so person. If the so and so issue comes, it can go to this person, or it could be also manually assigned. And then once you analyze the issue, once you record the issue, you analyze the issue. And as I mentioned earlier, you can periodically record, analyze what, and perform root cause analysis as to why this issue happened. What is the reason for this? And how can I improve this process? And various process improvement technologies that like Kappa or Six Sigma or any of those things can be used to see and reduce or eliminate such issue. And this is what will help you by moving that recurring issue to a problem management framework and address it with a set of people working on it and coming with a solution. And all these things, when you do, you have record of all these things which you can refer back. And this way, you will be able to bring in continuous improvements in the process and procedures. And just to make sure that any change that you introduce in the process or procedure across the network is governed properly, you bring in a change management process, which will mean that before you introduce a change, somebody has to test that change, somebody has to assess the impact, some approvals have to be in place before you get an approval to deploy that change. And before deployment also, whatever changes that needs to be done in terms of, let us say, who are the stakeholders to be informed, what are the procedural changes to be done, what are the documentation that needs to be done, if there are any physical changes that needs to be done in the shop floor or in your vehicle movement or anything like that. All these things have to be done first before you release that change, so that when you release that change into the system, the change will become effective from that time. And you will always be able to refer back as to what all changes that have happened over time and see how you have been able to improve the process from time to time. And then, as I mentioned earlier, since you can assign priority to these incidents, and every priority will have certain service level agreement, which will mean that this has to be resolved in a particular amount of time. And then you have escalations, triggering of workflow mails, alerts, whenever these timeframes are breached. And this is what you will be able to do with the service level agreement features which are available as part of this tool. And last but not the least is that you will be able to record learnings from these incidents as to how some issues were addressed in the past, so that going forward, if a similar issue comes up, somebody can search the knowledge base, find out how such an issue was addressed in the past, and probably follow that steps to ensure that the issue can be resolved this time again. Now, if you look at, once you digitize this way, the whole process that I described just now will help you to digitize this entire process. Now, once you digitize, obviously, there are a lot of benefits that will accrue because of this approach that you have taken of ESM, Enterprise Service Management approach. The first is these tools has built-in dashboards, which clearly can give you what are the issues that are ongoing at this point of time, how many issues are of high priority, how many issues are of medium priority, low priority, and then people can intervene and try and see whether these issues can be addressed fast. And then, since the tool will record every incident that has happened in the past, you end up building a repository of all past incidents. And these will help you to perform root cause analysis and try and figure out, improvement that can be done with Kappa or, your Six Sigma processes, and then bring in improvements on a continuous basis. And as I mentioned earlier, the system supports workflow. So depending on rules that you define, the workflow can automate and the issue can be directed to people who are supposed to address that issue. So the challenges of sending email with CC and to and not knowing who will address, those kind of issues go away, because the workflow will direct that issue to be handled to a specific person who is supposed to address that issue. So this way, what happens is there is clear accountability and clear visibility as to who is supposed to do and what is the stage at which the issue is currently. And you can always bring in people with expertise to address this issue at any given point of time. And at the end of the day, when you do all these things, it helps you to resolve issue in a much faster way than the way you are doing it today with phone calls and emails. And the major thing that happens is that this whole system has got an approach. There is a structure to it. There are components to it. Like I mentioned, there is an incident management component, there's a problem management, there's a change management. So all these things bring some structure and order to the way these issues can be addressed, can be recorded, including a lot of data can be captured, both qualitative and quantitative, which will help you to analyze the issues in detail. You can also find out how much time it has taken to resolve the issue, who were the people working on that issue, what was done to solve that issue, and has this issue been tagged as a problem issue? Has it been taken to problem management? And if it has been taken to problem management, what is the status of that issue in the problem management? Has people come out with any resolutions or any change in procedures? And if at all they have come out, how the change has been deployed in the system, who has approved those changes, what has been the impact of that change, and all these kind of things. So, and last but not the least is that all these things you can actually record in a knowledge repository, saying that this was the issue that happened, and this was the way the issue was addressed, and then save it with a title and search tagging, so that at any point of time in the future, if you want to look at it, you may be able to go back and look at it. So this is briefly what I wanted to cover as to how the challenges that are there today in the way supply chain issues are addressed. How can you leverage the enterprise service management framework, which has a tool sets and an approach, and how you can implement that when it comes to digitizing the supply chain issue management, and with that, what kind of benefit that you will see when you digitize this whole process. So that's what I wanted to talk about, and I am open to questions that you may have.
Thank you so much for yet another wonderful presentation, Mr. Ramakrishnan. That was very insightful indeed. So there's actually one question from Mr. Jitendra, sir. You can look at the chat box itself. Okay. He's asked one question: what are the main challenges in supply chain management? And aside that, Mr. Rahul has actually raised his hand. I need to find out if he would like to interact with you directly or if he has any queries.
Okay. Now, what is the main challenges in supply chain management is, I think, something that I covered, no? Because supply chain being a complex network, there are multiple people involved in the supply chain. And any issues happening at any of this chain would result into the overall objective not being fulfilled. So whether it is timely delivery or quality, that's what we are talking about when you talk about supply chain issues. And when currently these issues are handled in a very conventional fashion with emails and phone calls, and that's the way it is being addressed today. So once you digitize this, you will get visibility into what kind of issues that you come, and you can catalog all these things also. Like you can catalog different types of issues and try and understand how different issues impact your overall supply chain. I hope it addressed the question.
Yeah, Mr. Jitendra, I hope that answers your question. Also, I would like to launch that poll again. Now that we've actually gone through the presentation, let me launch that again for our audience. Okay, I hope all of you are seeing this now. Now that Mr. Ramke has actually covered the entire supply chain issue management and how it can be addressed through digitization, let me see if it changes after this. In fact, since all of them have anyway mentioned yes, I'm guessing it will not change. There's actually one no over here. Okay, interesting.
But not all people have not responded so far. Yeah.
Yeah, that is also there. Correct. Correct. All right. Okay.
But 12 people had responded earlier. No, now it's only.
Right. 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 Dear all, I'm still looking forward to some more questions in terms of the topic. Okay, there's one that's come from Miss Pooja. Sir, I'm hoping you're seeing this. Which supply chain management software? Yeah.
No, this is not related to issue management. It's basically related to forecasting. So
Right.
there are multiple solutions available. Maybe we can discuss this offline, because there are solutions like Supply Chain Guru. There are solutions like Oracle Sales Forecasting. SAP has got a forecasting solution. Then there is Evercast is there for. So there are many solutions for these things. So maybe offline, if you are looking for any help in supply chain, I also know some companies who are specializing in supply chain. This thing, maybe I can also connect you to them. And if you want any other, consulting requirement, then also I can help you with that. So maybe you can reach out to me separately. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I will loop Ms. Pooja.
Yeah.
All right.
Any more
Okay.
questions?
And let me end the poll. Been going on for a while. I will just share the results anyway. Give us a little more time for questions to come in. And in the meantime, I'd also like to mention that we will be having forthcoming webinars with Mr. Ramki in the coming months. So I would actually like to see if there are any topics that you as an individual are looking forward to seeing and being presented from Mr. Ramki. So you will actually be redirected to a survey form post the webinar, where there's a separate field for just the queries. And you can actually insert your suggestion that you want for the upcoming topic. Those of you who would like to mention it on the chat here can feel free to do so as well.
Yeah, the idea is that we would like to cover topics which is maybe of interest, rather than, because today we are coming out with what are the current challenges that people face, especially when it comes to manufacturing industry. And that's how most of the presentations in the past also has been around that area. Somebody had raised the hand, no? Whether a person is there or.
Yeah, I was actually seeing if Mr. Rahul, I believe you're still here. Would you like to actually interact with Mr. Ramki directly? Let me know in the chat. I will be able to give you the access. In fact, this is for all of you, those who are actually interested in talking to Mr. Ramki directly. I can do that. I can allow you to talk. Just let me know in the chat if anyone is interested. If you'd like to directly ask him a question face to face, that can be done. Anyone? It can be anything related to the topic, the domain, any kind of query that you have. If you'd like to clear it out, you can definitely put it in the chat. I will be able to facilitate that. All right. Sir, looks like there are no queries at the moment.
And the person who raised the hand is also not.
No, he's Mr. Rahul. You're able to hear us? I hope. Would you like to interact with Mr. Ramki, or do you have a question that you wanted to ask? It's like there's nothing at the moment, sir. So I think I can mention that if there's anyone who would like to reach out to Mr. Ramki, I can do that. So Ms. Pooja, you will be redirected to him post the webinar. I will do that. If there's anyone else who's interested, please let me know. I will be able to do that. So Mr. Ramki, I think we can end the session on that note, since we do not have much of queries. So once again, thank you so much for your efforts. Thank you for being there for yet another webinar, Mr. Ramki. It was a pleasure and an insightful presentation indeed. I will look forward to hosting you on yet another webinar on a new topic. I will hope to see topics from our audience end, hopefully in the survey form, and reach out to you on that basis. And thank you all, dear audience, for making time and joining us. I hope the session was informative. I hope you were able to take some points through the presentation itself. And those of you who've shown interest in our free demo, we will reach out to you in the next 2 to 3 working days. Our team will reach out to you for scheduling the free demo itself based on your convenience. So on that note, thank you all and have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Mr. Ramki, once again.
Yeah, just a request to everyone saying that please fill up the survey form and give us your feedback, because these feedbacks will help us to improve the webinar content, so that going forward it will be beneficial to all of us. So please do fill in and give your comments, and candid comments, and then also mention the topic that you would be interested in, so that it becomes easier for us to cover those topics specifically. Yeah. Thank you all of you for attending. Yeah. And thanks Siddharth for organizing this.
My pleasure, sir. Looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.